Hey and welcome to Discard. Today I want to talk about collector mounts, wall mounts. I talked about them in a previous video, but today I want to talk about a few different ways that you can use them throughout your collection that are a little bit more outside the box. So let's take a look. So right off the bat, I want to say that these collector mount wall mounts have been pretty incredible as I've been testing them across the board of all the different items that are in my game collection. I've been able to use them for all sorts of different things, and they have a bunch of different sizes that allows me to test them for all sorts of stuff. So they've been pretty awesome. So the first one that I went and started testing with was the vinyl mount, and I'd used this previously. Months ago I put a bunch of vinyl up on my wall using this. A lot of cool gaming vinyl, has beautiful art, and I really like having something like this to show off that art. But I wanted to see what else worked in these, and I tested a few different things. One of the first things that I did test was Nintendo Power magazines. A lot of people collect these. I have a wide range of them in my collection, and just finding a cool way to display some of the artwork that's on the front of these is a really big plus for me. And it turns out these work fantastic. They're really nice and thin, so they work in these mounts perfectly, and it looks awesome on the wall. And just like Nintendo Power, game guides are another thing that you could think about using these for. So you can put your game guide up there, and usually game guides had awesome artwork on the front and a bunch of cool information inside. This is a great way to display them, but still be able to get it off the wall if you want to use it in the future or look through it. And kind of sticking with the book category, a lot of art books are in people's game collections as well. A lot of times they'll come in special editions, or you'll get them along with a bundle of games or something like that. But recently I found a Splatoon art book at a local thrift store, and this was a perfect candidate to go into one of these mounts. And the vinyl mount works perfect for it because it's a little bit larger than the other mounts, and it really holds it nice and tight. And one thing to keep in mind when you're mounting things to the wall is if you have an item that you want to mount up there, you might want to check the size of it. It seems like things that are about 3/4 of an inch work perfectly in these mounts. If they're smaller than that, they work perfectly as well. But if you're over 3/4 of an inch, it becomes kind of a gray area, and you're not sure if that's going to fit in there or not. I've had things that are about an inch fit inside of these, but I would definitely recommend 3/4 of an inch as that kind of cutoff zone for that sweet spot. And the next mount that I spent a lot of time testing with was the CD mount. And in the previous video, I talked about using these for your gaming soundtracks and how they work really well and show off that artwork. And I just wanted to see what other items it would work for in my collection. So one of the first things I thought of when I saw these smaller versions was game cartridges. So I kind of ran through the game cartridges in my own collection, and I found that the best version for this is the NES cart. It's that right size for these. It seems like the horizontal cartridges like Super Nintendo or N64 or Sega cartridges in general don't seem to fit these because they're a little too thin, a little too small. But the NES cartridges work really good. They look beautiful on the wall, and you get to see that artwork, which is what it's all about. But I also found that 3DS game cases work fantastic in these, as well as DS game cases, and they're just a really cool way to mount those cases up on the wall and see that artwork. And I love the idea of somebody putting their entire DS collection up on the wall. I think it would look really cool, and you just get to see all that artwork, and there's not that many ways that you can do that. One of my favorite things that I found that I can mount in these is Gameboy Boxed Games. And I really like Game Boy games, and I collect a lot of Game Boy Advance and Game Boy games in box. And I really like the idea of mounting some of these on the wall. And these really allow for that entire box to be put in there. It's not being crushed in there, and I can continue to have my protectors on them so that they're safe sitting on that wall. So it's just a really cool thing, and I really love Game Boy games, so I really love the option to put them up on my wall. And if you're a PS Vita collector, these work fantastic for PS Vita. It's a perfect size for these mounts, and they look beautiful up on that wall. I haven't had a place to put my PS Vita games as of now. I've been looking for a bunch of ways to display those as well. Let me know in the comments if you have any other ideas for displaying PS Vita games. But these worked really well, and I think this is going to be my main option for displaying these games. And a couple outside the box ideas I found while going through my collection is just using these for some of your thinner Game Boy systems. I tried the Game Boy DMG, the original Game Boy, and it's a little too thick to fit inside of these, so I wouldn't recommend using that one. But the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Pocket looks super cool mounted to the wall inside of these. It's gonna be one of my favorite ways to mount those. I had a bunch of extra Game Boy Pockets and colors that I could use to mount to the wall and just add to this art piece that I'm creating. And another kind of weird item I found that works inside of these is some of your Nintendo Classic Editions. Now you might say that they're way too thick, but they do have a little bit of a lip where the two pieces of plastic come together. So you can use that and kind of clip into it with the wall mount, and it will allow you to mount these to the wall. It's just another cool idea on how to mount those or use those or display those in your collection. I know a lot of people bought these and they don't really play them that much anymore, so this might be a great option to display it on the wall, just have something cool to look at. And the third item that I spent some time testing was the card mount. And really in the end, I found that these work really well with just cards themselves. So I got a bunch of cards from the special editions that I've gotten in the past, or my Pokemon cards, and I've used them for those, and they work really well. I suppose you could use stickers and put those in between the plastic. You could do a lot of different things with some flat items that are smaller than a card. But in the end, it's going to be a card that works best inside of these. They're just a great option if you have those cards, because there's not that many ways to display them. But mostly I use them to fill out this kind of massive art piece that I've been working on, and it works really well to kind of fill in the spots that weren't necessarily filled by other mounts that I had up there. And I think it's looking great. And the last mount that I spent a lot of time with, and probably one of the best and most versatile mounts, is their DVD mount. And this mount is fantastic for a ton of different things in your collection, especially if you have a lot of DVD-sized cases for a lot of your games. So just the fact that this works well with your DVD-shaped game cases, and all of them, is a huge plus, because you can mount any of them you want up on your wall and have them as an art piece, something really cool to look at, but it's still a functional piece of art because you can take that game out and put it right in your system and you're good to go, and you can put it right back and it's a beautiful piece of art again. But I think that option is huge because so many of our collections have a lot of these cased games, and most of the time you're just seeing the end of the game, you're seeing the name of the game, you're missing out on all of that artwork that you may not see for a very long time. So it's just a great option for that. And apart from those kind of generally sized DVD cases, you might think the Nintendo Switch case might not work for these, but it works perfect. It's able to size down to the size of a Switch case, and it looks really cool. So I know a lot of you guys have Nintendo Switch collections, and this looks super cool. And I could just imagine somebody making an entire wall of Switch games, which there are a ton of. So that'd be really cool to see. If somebody does that, please send me a picture. And speaking of Nintendo Switch, I tried out some Nintendo Switch collector's editions inside of this, and I found that it worked really well. Some of those Nintendo Switch collector's editions are pretty thin and small, but they're still larger than the normal game case, and they work perfectly in there. They're just the right size. So I'd recommend picking this up just to test it out with some of your special editions that you might otherwise put in the back of a shelf. But another really cool thing you can use these for is Nes Boxed Games. I tried it out, and they are the perfect size for going inside of these mounts, and they look absolutely beautiful on the wall. You can continue to keep your protector on the case so you don't have to worry about it getting caked with dust or anything else that's in your house. It just looks awesome sitting on the wall. So it's just another option for mounting or displaying these awesome boxed games. And the last thing that I found you can use these for is Amiibo while they're in their box. So if you have a bunch of Amiibo that you haven't opened, or if you've just done that technique of opening them in the back and then putting them back into their box when you're not using them, these work really well for mounting them to your wall. To tell you the truth, I was pretty surprised that it did work with these boxes because Amiibo boxes are pretty large. But there's a little lip at the bottom of an Amiibo box, and of course they have the top of the cardboard, and it kind of links into those and holds it perfectly. It's not hurting it, it's not crushing it. It's a really good option for mounting those to the wall. And if you're making a giant art piece on your wall like I am, it's a kind of cool thing to have Amiibo put in there into this kind of conglomerate of different video game items. So as we've been working through this video, I'm sure that you've seen that there's a bunch of different things on this wall that I've been showing you. And it's just kind of because when I got these items, I started putting them up on the wall, and I kind of didn't stop. I saw on Collector Mount's website that a lot of people kind of put a conglomerate of different items together on the wall to make a beautiful art piece, and that's what I decided to do. So in the end, I'm pretty happy the way it turned out. I kind of have Switch games and PlayStation games and Amiibo and even some small consoles and gaming vinyl, and there's just a ton of different things up there to look at. It's really cool. I'll have it above my work desk where I do a little bit of DIY stuff, and it looks pretty awesome. So I'm really happy with that. So in the end, I had a great time with these mounts, and I think they've been pretty awesome. It's a lot of fun putting a bunch of stuff on the wall and learning a new way to mount and display different things in my game collection. So it's been pretty awesome. So thanks for coming and checking out Discard today. If you have any other ideas on displaying stuff on your wall or different things in your game collection, please leave it in the comments below. I'm always looking for more ideas to add to my collection of ideas, and I really appreciate you guys coming by. If you want to help out Discard past a subscription, please check out patreon.com/discard and check out all the awesome stuff you can get for $2 a month. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. But otherwise, have a great day and collect what you love.